Hello friends, if you follow the news, you will know that Sri Lanka on April 12 declared default on its debt with a public debt of $51 billion of foreign debt, in the context that the country is facing the worst economic crisis since independence in 1948. Their foreign exchange reserves are now only $2.3 billion, while in 2022 they have to pay off $4 billion of debt. So what is public debt? What happens if a country defaults on its debt? In this video, I will help you understand this problem. Each country has a government apparatus. The people elect this apparatus to run the country's activities. At the top is the government, below are the local governments. To operate, governments of countries must have money to pay for expenses including the cost of paying salaries for the state apparatus, the cost of constructing public works such as roads, schools, hospitals, etc. Currently, the main source of revenue from taxpayers. In addition, it is also due to the activities of state-owned enterprises that make profits, then the fines for administrative violations, etc., all paid to the state and called budget. In addition, if the government finds that it does not have enough money, it can borrow from other countries or from the people. Borrowing money will have the advantage that it will immediately have a huge amount of money to invest in big projects, do many big things, and then slowly pay off. So when the state borrows money, it is called a public debt, and most countries have public debt, not only Sri Lanka, but there are still a few governments that have a public debt ratio of 0% to GDP. So what does public debt include? This depends on the calculation method. There are countries where the public debt is calculated including government debt, local government debt, and other debts guaranteed by the state. Some countries include debts of state enterprises, insurance debts, but in some countries, that debts are not included. So looking at the report, it is also relative, not very clear. The more things that are not included, the lower the public debt, and vice versa. The more that are included, the higher the public debt, the more dangerous it looks. So how does the government borrow money? There are two objects to borrow. One is a domestic loan, borrowed from the people, such as issuing bonds in local currency, or local governments owe money from contractors, construction companies. The second is borrowing money from abroad, maybe issuing government bonds. Foreigners they buy, i.e. lend themselves money with interest, or support loans with low or no interest rates like ODA, or directly borrow at normal interest rates. In general, there are many ways. Regarding debt repayment, if a country has insufficient budget revenue to pay its debt, it must take measures to increase the budget, such as increasing taxes or increasing prices of some goods under the management of state-owned enterprises. If the budget increases, there will be money to pay off debt. In addition, stricter management of state spending, reduction of state payrolls to save wages, miniaturization of the state apparatus, etc. If that still doesn't work, for domestic debt, the state can print more money to pay the debt, although printing more money is depreciating, but each citizen holding money will only lose a little value, insignificant compared to default. As for foreign debt, of course, it is not possible to print more money, because borrowing them in foreign currency must be paid in foreign currency. Therefore, if a foreign currency loan cannot be repaid, the country is said to be in default. And often the solution of defaulting countries is to ask for more time to pay, and if it is more serious, they can pay off part of the debt, but not pay it off. For example, in 2011, Argentina defaulted on a debt of $81 billion. They initially offered to pay creditors 1/3 of the amount, and eventually 93% of the debt was converted into secured bonds in 2005. 2010. As for Greece, which defaulted in 2012, they only can pay the creditors 50%, the remaining 50%, the creditors accept to lose. Talk about the effect of countries that default. Many of you will imagine that, like a business going bankrupt, a defaulting country will collapse, but that is not the case. Debts also vary in severity. Just like your family, if you take out a loan of $100,000, and you can't pay it, it doesn't matter if your house has $10 million in land, but it will be serious if you have nothing left. If a country defaults slightly, it basically just loses credibility internationally, and has a harder time getting loans. If a country defaults on its debt at a serious level, the economy may go into recession. Printing more money will increase inflation. Many companies will face difficulties and go bankrupt, along with many unemployed people, and the tax source of the state will also decrease. Then again, printing more money leads to a certain time when the economy stops producing, goods become less, and people suffer even more. Even those who work in the state also have to quit because wages have not yet increased. Inflation has increased 100 times. For example, if the police quit their jobs, the country will immediately go into chaos, thieves and even robbers will rampage, the country will become a ruin, but this situation may never have happened. Thus, you have understood that public debt is the debt of the state government to both people in the country, other organizations or countries, and the effects if the debt is not paid. Thank you for watching the video. If you find it interesting and useful, don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel, like and share the video. Goodbye and see you again.